So in this video we're going to look at standard form calculations. The four different things we're going to look at. The first is adding and subtracting using standard form. Then we're going to look at multiplying, and then division, and then I'm going to talk about a special case with standard form. So the first question we've been given, 3.24 times 10 to the 3 plus 5.4 times 10 to the 4. So the first thing we need to do is convert each of these numbers into ordinary numbers. So 3 to 4, I make a mark where my decimal point was. So it was here after the 3. Times 10 to the power 3. What that tells me is that I need to move 1, 2, 3 places. Where I have a gap under my arch, I put a 0. I do exactly the same for this question here. So 5 and 4, decimal was here, times 10 to the 4, so I move 4 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. Under my arches go my zeros. So the question becomes 54,000 plus 3,240. Notice the numbers are in columns to make it easier to add. 0 add 0 is 0, 0 add 4 is 4, 0 add 2 is 2, 4 add 3 is 7, 5 add nothing is 5. So my answer is 57,240. Now if we have to convert that to standard form, decimal goes after the first number we see, so 5.724. You can include the 0, that's up to you, you don't have to. It's always times 10, and we count how many places it's moved. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my final answer in standard form, 5.7240 times 10 to the 4. Subtracting, exactly the same way. So the first thing we want to do is convert our numbers. So 25, decimal was here, times 10 to the power 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Under the arches go my zeros. So 25,000, take away 673, mark where the decimal was, times 10 to the power 2, so 1, 2, we don't need to add any more zeros. So I've got 25,000 minus 673. To complete, 0 take away 3, I can't do, so I need to borrow 1. Can't borrow 1, can't borrow 1, need to take 1 from the 5, so that becomes 4. This would become 10, we borrow 1 to put it here, we borrow 1 to put it there. So 10 minus 3 gives me 7, 9 minus 7 gives me 2, 9 minus 6 gives me 3, 4 minus 0 gives me 4, 2 minus 0 gives me 2. So my answer, 24,327. To put it in standard form, decimal goes after the first number, 2.4327. It's always times 10. How many places has it moved? 1, 2, 3, 4 times 10 to the 4. Now if we look at multiplying, we do in a slightly different way. Rather than converting the numbers and then multiplying, we can do that way, but it's easier if you deal with the whole numbers and then deal with the indices. So my whole numbers, 7 times 3. 7 times 3 gives me an answer of 21. Indices, I've got 10 to the power 4 in the first bracket, and I'm multiplying it by 10 to the power 5. Now the most common wrong answer would be 10 to the 20, because people do 4 times 5. This is incorrect. When we multiply indices, we simply add. So we get 10, 4 plus 5, which gives us 10 to the power 9. So our answer is 21 times 10 to the power 9. Now, standard form means that this number must always be between 1 and 10. Obviously 21 is more than 10, so we have to change it. So what we do is we put a decimal here, so 21 becomes 2.1. It's still times 10, but now because we've made this number, we've made it smaller, so we do the opposite this side, so we make it bigger. So the 9 becomes 10. Okay, deal with your numbers, deal with the indices, the powers. If this number is bigger than 10, we change it so it's in between 1 to 10. If we make it smaller, we make the indice bigger. With division, everything is done exactly the same way. We deal with the numbers first, and we deal with the indices afterwards. So the numbers, I've got 4 divided by 8, which is 0.5. With the indices, I've got 10 to the power 4 divided by 10 to the power 2. Now, when we multiplied, we added our powers. Division is the inverse of multiplication, so instead of adding, we take away. So we have 10 to the power 4 minus 2, which gives us 10 to the power 2, or 10 squared. So our answer is 0.5 times 10 to the power 2. Now in the same way that question 2, this wasn't standard form because it wasn't between 1 and 10. Again, here isn't standard form because it's not between 1 and 10. So we have to make a number between 1 and 10 using 0.5. So it's going to be 5, still going to be times 10. Now in the same way, this time I've made the number bigger, so the opposite here, I need to make the indice smaller. So our answer is 5 times 10 to the power 1. Now finally, the special case is about the power 0. If I had 2.67 times 10 to the power 0. 10 to the power 0 equals 1. Anything to the power 0 equals 1. So I've got 2.67 times 10 to the power 0. We know that's 1. 2.67 times 1. So my answer is 2.67. A key topic, always examined, the power 0. Anything to the power 0 is 1.